Welcome or welcome back to another short, but definitely not sweet true crime. I am your host, Shanni, and you are listening to Shanni Horror and Vibes. On this week's short, but definitely not sweet true crime case, we talk about Lauren Smith Fields, a healthy 23-year-old who had a bright future ahead of her, but was found unresponsive after going on one date with a man she met on Bumble. This is Lauren's story. Lauren was born January 23rd in 1998 in Bridgeport, Connecticut. She graduated from Stanford High School and attended Norwalk Community College. She wanted to become a physical therapist. But not only that, she was a YouTube vlogger, a social media influencer. She loved to travel, and her friends and family described her as one of the sweetest people you can ever meet, and they often looked to go to her whenever they need advice. That's who they went to, was Lauren. Lauren had just met Matthew, a 37-year-old Caucasian male, on Bumble. And Bumble is like another Tinder where you can swipe right, swipe left on people you like or be interested in talking to. So on December the 11th, just a couple of days after Lauren was talking to Matthew, she extended an invitation for him to come over to her place and have dinner and drink with her. Matthew did end up going over to Lauren's house that evening, and they did have dinner and drinks. They also played a few games, watched a movie, I suppose. And Matthew stated that Lauren went outside to meet up with her brother because Lauren stated that she had to get some few things from her brother and she'll be right back in. And she stayed outside between 10 to 15 minutes with her brother before she came back in the house and said she didn't feel well because they had been drinking or taking shots of Casamigos. She was like she didn't feel okay, and she went into the bathroom and she stayed in there for quite some time. Now, before we go any further, I just want to say, when I say he said, I'm really talking about Matthew, because Matthew's story is the only story that we've heard, the only version. So this is his version of what happened because he was the only other person there that night with Lauren. When Lauren came out the bathroom, she apologized to Matthew for staying in there so long and said that she thought maybe the shots weren't making her feel well. So Matthew suggested instead of taking shots, they mix it with some kind of juice or something. And that's what Lauren did. So Lauren had another mixed drink after she came out the bathroom. They continued to watch the movie they was watching until she fell asleep on the couch. At that moment, Matthew proceeds to carry Lauren to her bedroom, where he also lays to as well. He stated around 3 o'clock he woke up to Lauren snoring, and by December the 12th, 6:30 a.m., he woke up to Lauren laying on her side with blood coming out of her nose and was unresponsive. Matthew calls 911, and when they arrived, Lauren was laying on her back. But the police questioned Matthew into how does he know her, where did they meet. He stated that he had just met her a couple of days ago, and this was the first night of them meeting in person. He also stated that he does have Lauren's Instagram name because they befriended each other on there, and that's where they had been having all their conversations. So he did give police that information. The police did find Lauren's passport and ID and identified her as Lauren Smith Fields. Detective Cronin was the responding officer at the time, and he went to go talk to the apartment manager and question who was Lauren's emergency contact. The landlord stated he didn't have that information because she was just fairly new tenant there, but her mother does come by very often to check on her. So Detective Cronin proceeds to hand him this note saying, "Give this to whoever comes to see Lauren and let them know that we are looking to speak with them." On the evening of December the 13th, Lauren's mother and brother went to go check on Lauren since they had been calling and texting her all weekend and no one heard from her, which is unlike her. So they did what anybody else would do. They're going to get to the bottom of it and figure out why aren't you responding to us. Which, when they pulled up to the apartment, Lauren's mother saw this note on the door saying, "If you are looking for Lauren, call this number." She goes to the car, and as she waits, the landlord comes over and tells Lauren's mother that Lauren had been found deceased in her apartment on December the 13th, and the police are needing to talk to her, being they didn't leave very much information about Lauren's death, but they are looking to speak with her mother. As she waits for the number to call her back, the landlord walks over to her and says that Lauren was found deceased in her apartment a couple of days ago and that the police are looking to speak with her about it. Detective Cronin barely gave Lauren's family any information. In fact, he was quite rude to them. He acted like he was already had his mind made up about what Matthew had said happened to Lauren that night. However, he did inform Lauren's family that she met this Caucasian male off this app called Bumble, but not to worry about this man that she was with that night because he's a really nice guy, but he would not give out the name of this person either. Upset with how little information is being provided to the family, Lauren's father tried calling to see if he can get some information about what happened to Lauren, and Detective Cronin questioned why he was calling him, and that if he needed to know any information, he needed to call Lauren's mother and ask her because he gave all the information to her already, and hung up the phone. It was times where Detective Cronin wouldn't even answer the phone when Lauren's family was calling to try to hear if there was any new information. He just wouldn't give them nothing. Now, Lauren's mother gained access to her apartment so they can go on site and get Lauren's stuff cleared out. However, they found evidence that was clearly left behind, and they were like, why wasn't none of this collected? How? And it's still sitting there until this day. For instance, there was the drinks that Lauren and Matthew had. There was a pill on the table. There was still the bloodstained sheets that was there, and a used condom in the trash. None of this was collected, let alone mentioned in any other reports, because Matthew claimed that they both fell asleep, and they went into the room and she fell asleep. So how did a used condom get into the trash? So the family told the police, hey, you need to come back here and you need to come collect this. Please put this in your evidence. And they did. When Lauren's autopsy came back, the medical examiner reported that she had fentanyl, promethazine, and hydroxine, and alcohol in her system all at once, which caused an accidental overdose. Her death was ruled as an accident, and her family found that really hard to believe because Lauren never did drugs. The family did have a second autopsy ran on Lauren. However, I wasn't able to find the findings on that, but that's what we have so far, is that she had a mixture of liquor and alcohol in her system. The family took to social media by posting videos and using hashtag Justice for Lauren Smith Fields to tell her story and make sure she's not forgotten, and not allowing the police to just bury her story as if she was not the victim that night. Because of this, it gained over 27 million views on TikToks, celebrities shared her stories, and Lori's family rallied against justice and encouraged everyone to not let Lauren's name go unheard. City Council member Maria questioned whether the Bridgeport Police Department would have treated them the same way if they was a wealthy white family and the last person that was seen with their daughter was a 37-year-old black man. Lauren's death is being treated as an open investigation and has been reassigned to another detective. Due to the lack of support and sympathy by Detective Cronin, he was put on paid leave and was investigated by Internal Affairs on how poorly he handled Lauren's case and another black woman's case by the name of Brenda, who passed away the same day as Lauren, and he did not inform the family at all that neither one had passed. So because of this, Bridgeport, the police department, is now required to contact family 24 hours after a death because neither of those families had that option. They were just left in the dark. Okay, so theories, because like I said, when internet gets involved in true crime cases, you got the ones that think they can crack the case better than the officers. So these were the top theories that I found on Lauren's case, and I agree with some of them. For instance, the first one is Matthew was definitely responsible for Lauren's death, and he shouldn't have been ruled out so quickly. He should have been investigated right then and there. The evidence, the pill on the table, the drinks, all of that should have been collected, and it wasn't. 2. Some believe because Lauren was a black woman, it didn't receive the attention it deserved due to the police department told families to stop calling for updates. That right there, I agree. They was trying to open and shut this case. They didn't want to look into Matthew. They didn't want to do anything. The fact that she didn't have any physical signs of trauma, they was like, this is easy, boys. Accidental. And that was it. That was all. And I find that really upsetting because it's more to the story. And the last one. Detective Cronin and Matthew was friends, and that's why it was handled in the manner that it was. I can agree with that one too, because he could have been protecting his homie, because you just took his word and he literally just said, I just met her 2 days prior. This was our first night together. That right there, I'm going to have to look a little bit further into this, or you at least going to have to be a suspect until proven innocent. But he just took it as, he was visibly shaken up when the ambulance arrived. He didn't do this to her. He's a really nice guy, and let that be that. Dude, yeah. I really strongly agree with that, the last one. That is it for this week's short but definitely not sweet true crime case on Lauren Smith Fields. Let me know what your thoughts and opinions are on this case. Do you agree with the theories that are going on? Also, please make sure you guys are subscribed to my podcast and my YouTube channel and all my other social media platforms so you don't miss out on any true crime or anything spooky related that I decide to post. Talk to you guys next week. Bye.